A system in shambles. The shocking reality of Swedish education. Sweden, long admired for its egalitarian ideals, is facing a crisis. Its education system is failing. A recent PISA report revealed a shocking decline in Swedish students' performance in reading, mathematics, and science. Critics argue that decades of misguided reforms have eroded the quality of education. The consequences are far-reaching, threatening Sweden's economic competitiveness and social fabric. As educational disparities widen, so does the gap between rich and poor, jeopardizing social mobility. The decline of Swedish education serves as a cautionary tale for nations around the world. A web of controversies navigating the complexities of Swedish education. The crisis in Swedish education is a complex tapestry woven from interconnected factors. One of the most contentious issues is the role of for-profit schools. The introduction of school vouchers in the 1990s has led to a proliferation of independent schools, many run by for-profit companies. Critics contend that this has exacerbated segregation and inequality. Another point of contention is the curriculum, which has undergone significant changes driven by political agendas. Critics argue that the new curriculum stifles creativity and critical thinking. Adding fuel to the fire is the issue of teacher shortages, particularly in STEM fields. The crumbling foundation, funding cuts, and their devastating impact. At the root of Sweden's educational woes lies a chronic underfunding of public education. This lack of investment is evident in dilapidated buildings, outdated textbooks, and overcrowded classrooms. Students from disadvantaged backgrounds are disproportionately impacted by the lack of resources. The lack of funding also takes a toll on teachers, contributing to a decline in morale and an exodus of experienced educators. The underfunding of Swedish education reflects a short-sightedness that prioritizes short-term gains over long-term investments. The consequences of this neglect will continue to reverberate for generations to come. A curriculum in crisis battling over the content of education. The content of education has become a battleground in Sweden. Critics argue that the curriculum has become too narrow, focusing on rote memorization and standardized testing. One of the most contentious aspects is the role of standardized testing. Critics counter that these tests are often culturally biased and fail to capture the full range of student learning. Adding fuel to the fire is the issue of digital literacy, with a lack of emphasis on coding and critical media literacy. The curriculum crisis in Sweden reflects a larger global debate about the purpose of education in the 21st century. The vanishing educators, teacher shortages plague Swedish schools. A severe and growing shortage of qualified teachers casts a shadow over Sweden's educational landscape. Declining wages, increasing workloads, and a lack of respect for the profession have driven many experienced educators away. This shortage has reached critical levels, jeopardizing the quality of education for countless students. Decades of stagnant wages and rising living costs have made teaching a less financially viable career option. The erosion of respect for the teaching profession has contributed to a decline in morale among educators. Schools are forced to hire unqualified or inexperienced teachers, particularly in disadvantaged areas. Voices of dissent protests erupt over school closures. The simmering discontent over Sweden's educational woes has ignited a wave of protests. Parents, students, and educators have taken to the streets, demanding better funding for schools and smaller class sizes. One of the most contentious issues driving these protests is the closure of neighborhood schools. These closures have been met with fierce resistance from parents and community members. Teachers, feeling increasingly marginalized, have joined the chorus of dissent, demanding greater autonomy and more resources. The testing tussle. Debates rage over standardized assessments. Few issues in Swedish education ignite as much passion as standardized testing. Proponents argue that standardized tests provide objective measures of student achievement. Critics counter that these tests are often culturally biased and fail to accurately assess diverse students. The emphasis on standardized testing narrows the curriculum, forcing teachers to teach to the test. The debate over standardized testing reflects a larger global conversation about the purpose of assessment in education. A nation, awakened students and educators unite for change. Amidst the turmoil, a movement for change has emerged, led by students and educators. Students and teachers are raising their voices, demanding a seat at the table where decisions are made. Student-led organizations are organizing protests and lobbying for increased funding and smaller class sizes. Teachers are advocating for better working conditions, higher salaries, and a greater voice in curriculum development. This movement is a testament to the power of collective action and the belief in the transformative power of education. The unfinished battle, the urgent need for resolution. The crisis in Swedish education is far from over. Addressing the funding crisis must be a top priority. Sweden must recommit to adequately funding its public schools and ensuring equitable distribution of resources. Attracting and retaining high-quality teachers is also paramount. Sweden must rethink its approach to curriculum and assessment, moving towards a more holistic approach. By addressing these issues, Sweden can begin to rebuild its education system and ensure all students have the opportunity to reach their full potential. Join the conversation. Your voice matters in shaping the future of education. The crisis in Swedish education is a deeply human issue with profound implications. The growing movement for change is a testament to the belief in the transformative power of education. This requires the active engagement of all stakeholders, parents, educators, policymakers, and community members. Engage in meaningful conversations about the purpose of education in the 21st century. Subscribe to stay informed about the latest developments in education policy and practice. Together, we can be the catalysts for change, ensuring that every child has the opportunity to receive the quality education they deserve.